All right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? I want you to type in the chat bar or just answer. Can you please tell me if you hear me well? All right, good. Thanks, Edgar. Thanks, Catherine. All right, let's start then right away. Good evening, everyone. Today is our second webinar, and I'm so enthusiastic about having this talk, having this lecture with you tonight, which is about English language teaching effective methods. This is the second part. We had the very first part 2 weeks ago, and tonight the focus will be on effective methods for teaching children, teenagers, and adults successfully. All right, we're going to start with a song again tonight. You know I like music very much, and tonight I prepared a song again. I'm going to share my screen so that you can sing with me, so that you can see what I will be singing and sharing with you. Can you all see my screen? Can you see the screen? All right, good. All right, good. That's great. All right, let's start then. So it is singing time. All right, do you know the woman in the photo? Today's song is very popular. It's one of the most popular songs of all times. The woman in the photo is Gloria Gaynor. It is a classical disco song, but tonight I'm singing a rock version, another version of the song, and I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it very much. Here are the lyrics of the song so that you all can sing with me. All right? Okay, let's start then. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. I kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights just thinking how you did me wrong. And I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back from outer space. I just wake into find you here without look upon your face. Should have changed that stupid lock. I could have made you leave your key. If I had known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go, walk out the door, just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. Were you the one who tried to scare me with goodbye? You think I crumble? You think I lay down and die? Oh no, but I will survive as long as I know how to love. I know I'll be alive. I got all my life to live. I got all my love to live. I will survive. I will survive. Yeah, yeah. It took all the strength I had just not to fall apart. I'm trying hard to mend the pieces of my broken heart. when I spent so many nights just feeling sorry for myself. I used to cry, but now I hold my head up, God, and you see me with somebody new. I'm not that stupid little person still in love with you. And so you thought you'd just provide and you expect me to be free. But now I am saving all my loving for someone who's loving me. Oh, no, God. Walk out the door, just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. Were you the one to try to carry me goodbye? You think I'd crumble? You think I lay down, I die? Oh, no, no. I will survive as long as I know how to love. I know I'll be alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I will survive. I will survive. Yeah, yeah. Woo! All right, good, good, good. Good, it was so good. It was so good. All right. All right, good. Can you see my screen? Yes? All right, good. All right, that's fantastic. Okay. Let me admit the people that are just joining. Okay, I'm admitting all the people that are joining right now. All right. All right, good. How are you tonight? Who wants to say something? Who wants to speak right now? How are you tonight? Good evening, Ceci. Good evening, Cecilia, Salcedo, Ceci Marui, Delmer, hi. Delcy, Edgar.
Hi.
Good evening, teacher.
Good
How are
evening,
you?
Rita.
Good evening, teacher. How are you?
Fine,
Teacher, good
thanks.
evening.
Jose. Hi, Julio. Nice to see you. Long time no see. Catherine, hi. Laura. The lady, Nancy, Rosa.
Hi,
Hi, teacher. Good evening.
Rosario, good evening.
Good evening,
Hi,
teacher.
Claudia.
Good evening,
Hi,
teacher.
teacher. Hi, teacher.
Hi.
Good evening, teacher.
All right. Let's start then. Tonight's focus is again on effective methods for teaching English. Tonight we will see some vital things, some things we need to keep in mind in our teaching that are related to teaching children, teenagers, and adults. Right? Let's start then right away with tonight's riddles. We have 5 riddles again, the same as the other day. The first riddle says, pregnant every time you see her, yet she never will give birth. What is it? Who knows? Who can say the answer? You can type it, you can speak it. I want you to give me the answer. What do you think it is? It is pregnant every time you see her, yet she never will give birth. What do you think it is? Any ideas? No? The moon, good, Claudia. The moon, yes. The moon, the full moon. The full moon, yes. The full moon. All right. Yes, Claudia, you got right. Okay, the second, you use a knife to slice my head and weep beside me when I am dead. What's that? You use a knife to slice, to cut my head and weep beside me when I am dead. What's that? Yes, Edgar, good. An onion. An onion, that's right. Yes, good. All right, next. What happened to the dog when it stands in front of the hot sun? What happens to the dog when it stands in front of the hot sun? What happens? Any ideas? No? Well, it's silly, but fun. The dog becomes hot dog. Yes, Lady, you got it. The dog becomes hot dog. Yes, good one, right? All right, next. What kind of room has no walls? This is a type of room with no walls. What kind of room has no walls? Any ideas? The hour? No, Edgar? A mushroom. A mushroom. It is a riddle, remember. All right, Claudia.
A mushroom.
Yes, a mushroom.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Next. This is so fun. Okay, this is one for Teacher's Day. It was Teacher's Day last Monday, our day. I know many of you were celebrating virtually, having meetings. You received calls, perhaps you were given a present. It was our day last Monday. So this riddle has to do with Teacher's Day. It is fun too. Why did the teacher wear sunglasses when he came to the class? Why? Think. Any ideas? Because his students were so bright. All right. He drank, Delcy. No, he didn't drink. All right. Okay. Let's start then right away with tonight's talk, with tonight's topic, which is the second part of ELT effective methods. What will we talk about today? Today we are going to talk about development statements, right? This is different stages of the life of humans. And it is important to know what is happening at these different stages to be able to apply the appropriate strategies, teaching strategies with the different types of students, students of different ages and also different levels. The second thing we will talk about tonight is differences in maturity that influence language learning. This is so important too, and so interesting. Also, we will be talking on learning through play, the importance of games in teaching in general, not only in teaching English. And we will see again some terminology related to ELT. So after the webinars, after your participation in this program, I hope you all are familiar with teaching terminology. And if you feel you want to go for a teaching exam, you can go for it, you can take it. Cambridge TKT, for example, or Cambridge TKT YL. All right, so these are the 4 things we will cover tonight. Development statements, differences in maturity that influence language learning, learning through play, and terminology related to ELT. Remember that if you want to speak, you want to say something, you can raise your hand and you can speak, or you can also use the chat bar to comment, to ask questions, to contribute, to participate, and enrich the session. All right? Okay. Okay, so the first thing we will talk about tonight is development statements. Do you have children? I want you to tell me to raise your hand or to type in the chat bar or to say yes if you have children. All right, Madeleine, yes, you do have children. Thank you. Thanks for answering. Catherine, no. All right. Claudia, no. All right. But maybe you have nephews or nieces. Miguel, no. Yes, right? You have nephews, nieces. Okay, Cecilia, you have children. Good. All right. Miguel, yes, you have nephews, nieces. All right. So you know how little children behave. There are some generalizations about the behavior, the processes in children that we will see tonight. I said that it is important that we consider this in our teaching to make it more significant. And the first thing we will see, you see the photo of these babies growing up and going from one stage to another. Tonight I want to share that according to the Early Years Foundation Stage Framework from England, and bearing in mind that children develop at their own rates and in their own ways, children typically develop the following things within these age ranges. For example, a child that is between 16 and 26 months, at this age, can children speak clearly? You said that you have, some of you have children, some others have nieces, nephews. Perhaps you are teaching this age in a school, or you have taught this age in a school. Between 16 and 26 months, can children speak clearly? I want you to participate. No, right? No, not all of them, maybe. Yes, all right. We will see some characteristics that children develop at this age. At this age, for example, yes, it is true that children cannot speak clearly. However, they can copy familiar expressions. They hear expressions, and when these expressions are familiar to them, they copy them and they repeat them. At this age, also, children explore and experiment using the 5 senses, using the whole body. Have you noticed that when children are, until children are 5 years old, they like putting their hands in their mouths? Have you noticed this? It's like they are putting their hands inside their mouths all the time. Because at this age, they are exploring and experimenting using the senses. And they need to touch, they need to see, they need to smell, to explore, to experience, to experiment things. Between 22 and 36 months, children listen with interest to the noises that adults make when they read stories. They are also interested in others' play, and they are starting to join in, to be part of groups. They also can run safely on whole foot because their bodies become more stable at this age. At this age, children are aware that some actions can hurt or harm others. And they repeat words or phrases from familiar stories. If you have children, if you have nephews, nieces, you see this, you can confirm this. Perhaps you are teaching children this age right now, or you have taught children this age in the past. So repetition is one thing that we see at this age. Also at this age, the children can recite numbers in sequence, perhaps 1 to 10, 1 to 15, 1 to 20. Also at this age, they like experimenting with blocks, colors, and marks. Yes, Edgar, sometimes the first words they say are like mom, dad, milk, booby, food, right? Bread. What happens when children are between 30 and 50 months? Children at this age respond to simple instructions. If you tell a child this age, please pass me the bottle, they will understand this instruction. Please close the door, they will understand this. Simple instructions like put your toys away. Also at this age, they can catch a large ball. They notice what adults do, imitating what is observed and then doing it spontaneously when the adult is not there. Also at this age, they can play in a group. And they hold books the correct way up and turn pages. All right. When children are between 40 and 60 months, this is between 4 and 5 years old, they use a pencil. They can hold a pencil effectively. Some children at this age can even write their name and surname. If you teach them to do so, they will do it. They can do it. Also at this age, they extend vocabulary by grouping, by naming, and exploring the sounds of new words. At this age, children can write their own name and other things, such as labels or captions. And they can construct with a purpose in mind, using a variety of resources. All right. In our previous webinar, we talked on the importance of teaching English 100% in English. We talked about the importance of teaching English in English only. Today, I want to highlight this again, how important it is for us, the teachers, to use English only. As you see from the statements about children between 6 months and 5 years old, all they learn is because they have been exposed. So if there is exposure to the language, they will learn the language. They will understand the language naturally, easily, and quickly. My question right now is, how did we learn our native language? How did we learn Spanish? How did you learn Spanish? Was there a necessity to explain grammar to you when you were a little baby so that you can learn Spanish? How did you learn Spanish? How did I learn Spanish? I want to hear you. I want you to type in the chat bar or Just speak and say to me, how did we learn our own language?
Imitating adults.
Yes, imitating adults. Good. Yes.
Only listening.
Yes.
Only listening.
Spanish.
It
Excellent.
could be.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. We learn Spanish by listening to Spanish. We learn Spanish because we heard Spanish and we started to imitate Spanish. When we were little, yes, Mother Lady, we didn't learn any grammar. However, we learned our mother tongue because we were exposed to the language. We were surrounded by the language. All around us was the language. And there was no necessity to use a board to teach us, to explain us something related to grammar or vocabulary. Nobody used a flashcard to teach us words, but we learned the language. And this way, the way we learn Spanish is the same way all humans all around the world learn a language. So if we expose children to English since they are little, they will naturally start to imitate, to speak, to produce English in any quantity. Right now, we are going to focus on the characteristics of children between 4 and 11 years old. Once again, maybe you have children, you have nephews or nieces, or you teach children right now, or you have taught children in the past. So it is highly likely that you are familiar with what we will see right now. And tonight, I wanted you all to remember this since it is important for being effective in our teaching. All right. In this section, we'll outline the characteristics of children development and on a more specific note, those of children as foreign language learners. All right? When children start learning a new language, all of the learning process occurs through the sense of hearing. As you said, as Alan said, we learn Spanish by listening to Spanish. We didn't need to write or read any Spanish to learn Spanish, but we learn by listening to Spanish. And I said that this occurs with all languages. This occurs with all humans, with all babies, all over the world. So when children start learning a new language, all of the learning process occurs through the sense of hearing. Listening comes first, and then
Teacher, but the children
experiences.
Teacher, the children have to be in contact with the mother. If the mother talk about in another language.
Yes, Alan, thanks for your intervention. Right, Alan, thank you. Of course, the children will learn the language the mother, the father, and the people around him or her speak. If you teach English in English only to children, they will learn the language quickly. Not in a week, not in a month, not in a year. When I say quickly, I mean in 4 or 5 years. Because the only chance children have to be exposed to the language is the school, the academy, or we, the teachers. My point right now is that if you want a child or any person to learn English, you have to speak in English only. And this is why I said I'm going to emphasize what we covered the other day in our first webinar. how important it is that we communicate in English only with our students. So listening comes first, and then comes experiencing with the body. So if you want students, not only children, but also teenagers and adults, to learn English, you have to do a lot of listening and speaking first. Reading and writing come after. The problem is that many teachers do the opposite. Many teachers want to teach reading and writing first, and they leave listening and speaking for the end. Traditional teaching is like this, and traditional teachers are like this. They teach a lot of reading and writing, and they don't do listening and speaking. And this is why students are not learning the language. And this is why students are not speaking in English at all. And this is why students are having a lot of problems with listening activities. So if you want to be successful in your teaching, you have to do it this way. You have to do listening and speaking first. A lot of listening and speaking. And then reading and writing will come after. What age were you, or how old were you when you started to speak and you started to understand the spoken language around you? How old were you? 2, 3 years old? 1, 4? Tell me, I want to hear you. I want you to use a chat bar or just turn on your microphone. 2, Roselena, yes. Okay, Roselena, thank you. I want to stop here and continue speaking with you, Roselena. You said that you were 2 when you started to speak, and you were able to understand all the spoken language around you. Roselena, my question now is, how old were you when you started to read and write? Roselena, how old were you when you started to read and write? I don't think you were able to read and write when you were 2, right? How old were you? 4, wow, you were very fast. I started to read when I was 5. The majority of children learn to read and write when they are 6 or 7. Right now, for example, it is not mandatory to know how to read and write to go to first grade of primary. But in our times, people from our generation was expected to be able to read and write when they were 6 to be able to go to first primary. Right now, it is not mandatory. So we start to speak first. So listening and speaking should be first. And reading and writing should be left for later. So the same process should be happening in English teaching. So the first years, we have to do a lot of listening and speaking. And we have to leave reading and writing for later. Once again, the problem is that many teachers do the opposite. Many traditional teachers are doing the opposite. They are doing writing, grammar, reading, and they don't do any listening, they don't do any speaking. All right. This type of learning, in which listening comes first and then experiencing with the body, involves the development of specific abilities, such as discrimination and imitation of sounds, words, and tones. Only after children learn to discriminate and imitate sounds in a foreign language can they learn to recognize the formal system to register written communication. So listening and speaking first, then they will learn to read and write. Now we are going to focus on the characteristics of very young learners. This is between 4 and 5 years old. At this stage, you know, children can change their mood easily. This means that they can be enthusiastic 1 minute and bored the next. So we have to be creative in our lessons to capture the attention of the students and to keep them busy, to keep them motivated, to keep them enthusiastic. At this stage, they enjoy repetition and they feel confident and at ease with routines. They learn by imitation. So if you are repeating routines in your teaching, they will enjoy this, they will feel confident, and they will learn a lot of grammar and vocabulary indirectly. They will start to imitate what you say and what you do. At this age, the children are very energetic and enjoy physical activities. So singing, moving, playing, using blocks are fantastic things to do when teaching this age group. At this stage, children are in a period of rapid language growth. This means that they love learning new words, they love talking, and they love singing. All right. The general aim of formal education at this stage is or should be socialization, number 1, and number 2, habit formation. So if you are teaching this age, you have to be focused on these 2 things, which are vital, which are important: socialization and habit formation. You cannot assume that a 4 or 5 year old can be sitting down and will learn a foreign language by being sitting down for 1 or 2 hours inside the classroom. They need to move, they need to socialize. And if you introduce practice classroom routines and speak in English only naturally, they will start to pick up the language naturally too, easily, quickly. So you have to make them play in English. You have to make them talk. You have to make them sing. You have to make them socialize. This is going to help you enrich your teaching. At this stage of learning, it is important to consider also the following areas. The social affective area, and this is related to attitude. In this sense, educators or teachers must pay attention to 2 different levels. To be oneself, this has to do with self-confidence, feelings, and willingness, and to be with others. This has to do with cooperation and interaction. So we need to pay attention to this. We need to consider this as educators. There are 2 more areas we will talk about, and I want you to keep in mind. So the first one is the social affective area. The second one is the cognitive area, and this is related to knowledge. Within this area, we consider cognitive procedures. This has to do with information, how to process details or facts about something or someone. Comprehension, the ability to understand, for example, instructions or messages. And application, the use of an idea for a purpose. At this stage of learning, it is important to consider the following areas. The psychomotor area. So it is the social affective area, the cognitive area, and the psychomotor area, which is related to movement. Within this area, we consider these two aspects: habits and skills. They help the development of actions which are demonstrated by motor abilities, like walking in line into the classroom, like putting a hand up to ask for something or asking for things in a foreign language. Now we are going to move on to the characteristics of children between 6 and 7 years old. At this stage, children talk about their own actions. They are able to talk about what they are doing. They use their imagination. They love using their imagination at this age. And they use a variety of intonation patterns. They raise their voice when they speak to emphasize something, for example. At this age, they also understand situations quicker than language use. This means that they don't pay attention to grammar. Actually, children don't care about grammar. They care about meaning. So they understand situations. They want to understand the messages, the message of communication. They don't want to understand grammar. So if you are teaching children this age, please don't waste your time teaching grammar, because the children don't really care about grammar. And grammar for children this age is too abstract, too difficult to understand, too difficult to assimilate, too hard to understand. So teaching grammar at this age is a waste of time. We should be reading stories, contextualizing language, putting specific situations in the classroom that make the children understand things more than grammar explanations. At this age, children memorize but not easily recall. Also, children this age play and work in the company of others. They understand rules. They have a short attention and concentration span. This means that they cannot concentrate for long periods. This means we have to be changing activities every 10 minutes, more or less. Experts say that the attention and concentration span of a normal child is between 5 and 10 minutes. So we have to be changing activities every 10 minutes because children at this age cannot concentrate for long periods. Also, it is important to highlight that although they play and work in the company of others, children this age like to be or like to group with children that are their same sex. Boys like playing with boys and girls like playing with girls. So if you try to group a boy with a girl in the classroom, and it's like you oblige them, you order them to work like this is going to be harmful because they don't like to make groups with people from the other sex. So try not to force children to play or work with a boy with a girl or a girl with a boy, with someone from the other sex, because this is not good. They don't really enjoy it. All right, at this age, children are keen on learning. This means they like learning, they love learning, they really want to learn new things, they enjoy learning. They choose what to learn also. And they can find it hard to separate fact from fiction. So at this age, they still believe that Santa Claus will come to their homes on Christmas Day, right? And they believe that Spider-Man is a hero, someone that will save the city and will protect us from criminals, because it is fine for them, it is hard for them to separate fact from fiction. All right, now we are going to focus on the characteristics of young learners between 8 and 11 years old. At this stage, children rely on language as well as on the physical world. They work with others and learn from others. They understand abstract concepts and symbols. So at this age, perhaps we can start to introduce some grammar. Not to teach a lot of grammar, but to introduce some grammar. To give them the whys. Sometimes sentences work in a way, or we say some things in a specific way. They make generalizations about language. For example, they might assume that a letter S by the end of a word indicates that a word has become a plural. They understand also relationships of cause and effect. So they start to say why some things happen, or why things are done in a way or another. At this age, they also identify language patterns. Like, for example, they start to understand that when we have an adjective and a noun, in English, adjectives come first, and that's the position of adjectives. We say that Arequipa, for example, is the white city, not the city white. They start to identify and understand these language patterns, these things. Also at this age, they know the difference between fact and fiction. So you cannot tell a 10 or 11-year-old that if they behave well, Santa Claus will give them a present this Christmas, because nobody is going to believe you. All right. Any questions up to this point? Does anyone want to comment or type something in the chat bar, or just want to say something? Is there anyone who would like to speak or ask me something up to this point? Because we are going to move to teenagers and adults right now.
Is everything fine? No? No questions?
Go on, teacher.
All right, thank you. Okay, if you want to find out more,
That's clear.
thank you so much. Thanks for saying it's clear. Okay, Julio, thank you. Okay, my dear lady, good. If you want to find out more on how to teach English to young learners, there is a Teaching English Online to Young Learners webinar that is available on YouTube, and it's for free. Here is a link. Right now we are teaching online, right? This webinar is 57 minutes, I think, almost 1 hour. If you want to find out more on how to teach young learners effectively online these days, here is a link, all right? Remember that after this presentation, I will be sharing this presentation with you in a PDF document. Also, if you want to know more and in detail about how to teach young learners successfully, you can take our TKT YL preparation course, which is available in the link also here attached. I will share this with you. All right, I have a TKT Young Learners Preparation course, which is online for teachers. It has 3 modules and different sections that are related to how to teach English effectively in kinder and primary. All about the characteristics of young learners and the strategies, the techniques, the resources we need to use for teaching effectively, for teaching successfully. All right. Right now, the focus is on teenagers and adults. We saw that children have their own characteristics. Now we are going to talk about the main differences in maturity that influence language learning. What is maturity? Maturity involves becoming grown up physically, mentally, and emotionally. Children, teenagers, and adults have different learning characteristics, and therefore they learn in different ways. Here are some of the main differences in maturity that influence language learning. As we saw in the previous slides, children need to move. I said that you cannot assume that the children can be sitting down for an hour inside a classroom listening to you, explaining how English works. No. If you want a child to learn English, you have to make the child move, sing, talk, play, share, group, etc. And also I said that the attention and concentration span of children is short. Unlike children, teenagers are starting to keep still for longer periods, but they still need to move. So if you are teaching teenagers, you have to keep this in mind. And teenagers are always contradicting what you say. You say in class, today I have prepared a story, and they say, no. They say, today I have a song. No. They are never happy with what you bring to the classroom. But they like moving, and you need to keep this in mind. They like working in groups. Adults, however, are able to keep still for longer periods. Children can concentrate for shorter periods. Teenagers are developing concentration, and adults can concentrate for longer periods. Children learn through experience. I told you that they need to use the 5 senses. They need to touch, they need to smell, they need to hear. They learn through using the senses. Teenagers are beginning to learn in abstract ways, through thinking as well as experiencing. So you can give teenagers some grammar explanations because teenagers can understand grammar explanations. But grammar, as I said before, is too abstract for a child. They don't understand how language works. And adults learn in more abstract ways. Adults actually like grammar explanations and they feel secure. They feel confident when they know the grammar of the language. Children are not very able to control and plan their own behavior. Teenagers, however, are beginning to control and plan their own behavior. So they understand rules, they follow rules, and adults are usually able to control and plan their own behavior. Well, they are supposed to, right? Children are not afraid of making mistakes or taking risks. Teenagers may worry about what others think of them. And adults are not so willing to make mistakes or take risks. Adults don't like to make mistakes, right? Who likes making mistakes in public, in front of other people? Nobody does. Children are not aware of themselves and or their actions. Teenagers, however, are sometimes uncomfortably aware of themselves and their actions or their actions. And adults are aware of themselves and their actions. Children pay attention to meaning in language. To meaning means that they focus on the message of communication. They don't pay attention to grammar, I told you this. But teenagers pay attention to meaning and increasingly to form, to grammar. And adults pay attention to grammar, pay attention to form and meaning in language. Children, you know, have limited experience of life. Teenagers are beginning to increase their experience of life, and adults have experience of life. This is important to be considered. Once again, maturity involves becoming grown up physically, mentally, and emotionally. Of course, every learner and every human is different, so someone may not fit exactly into these descriptions. These are only generalizations that show likely but not fixed characteristics. But from looking at these differences, we can see that each age group needs to be taught in different ways. Edward is saying that it's equal, it's the same if the classes are in the classroom or if they are virtual classes. All right, the characteristics of people are the same in a classroom or in front of a computer. All right, of course, the characteristics of our teaching and the strategies we apply will depend on the way that the lessons are delivered, if they are face-to-face lessons or online lessons. All right, so the first thing we covered tonight was development statements. That's the first thing we were going to cover. Another thing I said we were going to cover was learning through play. right? And also differences in maturity that influence language learning, which is something we've already seen. Right now, we are going to move on to the next topic of tonight's webinar, which is learning through play. All right. I want you to answer the following questions about using games in your classes, in both face-to-face or online classes. Number one, do you use games in your teaching? Please, I want you to type your answers. Do you use games in your teaching?
Yes.
Right, sometimes, no, yes, all right, okay. Do you think games can help students to understand grammar?
Yes, I do.
All right, yes, please type your answers in the chat. Every day, Delcy, good. Roselena, sometime. Yeah, Roxana, you are using.
Yes.
Me too, me too. All right.
It is more exciting.
Yes, it is many times much more exciting to learn grammar with a game, right? All right. I have two more questions. Do you think games are a waste of time? Yes, they feel happy with games. Are games a waste of time? You are saying in the chat, no. Carlos, no. Ceci, no. Edgar, no.
No, because we learn.
We learn a lot.
No, because we learn a little more.
Yes. What do we learn with games now that you mentioned this? I want you all to answer. What do we learn from games? Why are games good? What can students learn from games? Vocabulary, okay, thank you, Elisa. Grammar, all right, what
Yes.
else can students learn?
Grammar, vocabulary.
Okay, what else, only that? To interact, yes, that's very important,
Yes.
Roxana, thank you. They improve listening.
They use the language.
They use the language, yes, Rosa Berta, thank you. Excellent, Doris Vasquez. They learn to socialize, which is a basic skill. All right. So we teachers have to focus on our teaching, not only in the language. Our job is not to teach grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and the four skills only. No, this is not all our job. Our job as educators is also to teach students to respect other students, to socialize, to wait for their turn, to be assertive when communicating, to respect rules. This is our job. So teaching grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, teaching the skills is only like half of our role, half of our job. Because our...
The students feel motivated.
Sorry, what did you say, Alan?
The students feel motivated with the games.
Yes, that's true, Alan. Students feel motivated with games. That's true. And what I mean right now is that games are a fantastic opportunity for teaching not only the language, not only grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation and listening, but also games are a fantastic opportunity to make good citizens, to make students respect other students, to make students understand and follow and respect rules, to make students be assertive, to make students able to interact with other students. So this is part of our job, and games are a fantastic chance for this purpose. The next question is, would you like to know websites with online games for teaching English?
Yes.
All right. Yes, everybody.
Yes, I would.
Yes. All right, good. Okay, tonight I'm going to share some links. And in our next webinar, in the webinar that covers teaching the language systems, how to teach grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, which is coming next week in 7 days, we will play, we will revise, we will see in detail what is inside these websites. Tonight, I'm going to show you what we have available, and I'm going to share the links only, all right? So that you know some websites with online games for teaching English, because right now everybody is teaching online. Roseville, thank you. Games are good for teaching students how to value the opinion of their classmates, right? Okay. What is the role of games? Well, we can use games to introduce new material, right? If you have some other things to comment, you can type them in the chat bar, or you can turn on your microphones and tell me. You can also use games to practice recently learned language items.
In order to improve.
Yes, in order to remember information from the previous lesson.
Yeah.
Have a chance to practice the language.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you teach vocabulary one day, but you never use that vocabulary, you never practice the vocabulary you taught, students will forget easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? I said that since we are little, we learn by repetition, we learn by imitation. So it is vital that we practice the language every time, the language we are teaching. So if I have to cover the vocabulary of vegetables, animals in the first unit or the first bimester, this doesn't mean that I don't use words related to vegetables or animals in the following classes, in the following units or bimesters. Because if I only use the language and in the unit or bimester that I am supposed to cover it, and students never practice the language, they will forget quickly, they will forget easily. So games are a good way to practice recently learned language items also. Also, we can use games to revise language, to consolidate language, and to relax a class or to energize a class. Some teachers think that games can be used at the beginning of lessons only, and it is not necessarily like that. You can use a game in the middle of your lesson, by the end of your lesson. There is no one specific moment of the class in which we can use games. Yes, Roxana, we can reinforce the students' learning by playing games. All right? And as I said before, games are also good to make students interact with other students, to socialize. This slide is on the types of games. I am sure you are familiar with this. We have movement games, card games, board games, dice games, drawing games. How can you make a movement game right now that you are teaching online? If students are supposed to be sitting down in front of the computer listening to you, how can you make a movement game? Well, you can make your students move even if you are teaching online. If I ask you right now, for example, to find one object in your house that is green and show it to me, and turn on your camera and show it to me, and if you do this first or before other students, you are going to get a point. I am sure you are going to enjoy it. Right now, with online teaching, there is also a chance to do movement games. You can ask your students to turn on their cameras and bring things and show you things and do things and make the students move. So there's no excuse to say that right now with online teaching we cannot have movement games. Another type of games is card games, board games, dice games, rowing games, guessing games, miming games, role play, singing and chanting games, word games, and team games. Here is an example of a movement game, Simon Says. You can play this online also. And this is what we call TPR. Do you know what TPR stands for? Who can tell me what TPR stands for? Teachers? Is this term new to you? Do you know what TPR means? TPR?
Typical physical response.
Excellent, thank you, Rosaberta. Total physical response. This means to use your body for learning. Right? Yes, Rosalena, total physical response. An example of a card game is this. You show cards, or students use cards to play memory, for example. A memory game using cards is another example of this. A rubber game. Any ideas on what a rubber game is? What is a rubber game? Any ideas?
Open, close.
All right.
Under, on.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
Prepositions.
All right. Thank you, Alan. In the picture, we see, yes, a girl opening and closing a book. Then we have under and on. All right. The teacher is teaching prepositions, maybe, or giving instructions and playing with the students. A rubber game actually is a game we use when we have the same score. We make teams or we make students play and we have two groups or two students with the same score. And we want to define who the winner will be. So we make a rubber game. When there is a tie, when two groups or two students have the same score, we use a rubber game to see who the winner will be. This is an example of a guessing game. It can be spelling like this, or it can be just giving clues, the first initial or letter of a word, to make the students speak. This is a role play. I know we all do this. All right. Singing game. Do you like singing in your classes? Do you use music in your classes?
Yes, it's funny.
Yes.
It's fun, right? It's very fun.
That game.
Yes, it's fun. It's fun. All right. Actually, we are starting each webinar with a song. And I am planning to start all the 8 webinars with a song this year so that we have a chance to relax. I think this is fun, relaxing, and fantastic in our classes. Everybody likes music. And if you can play a musical instrument or you can sing, I would recommend you, I would advise you to put this ability into practice with your students. Students will love it if you play the guitar in front of them, if you sing with them, if you move, if you dance. They really like it. They love it when you play for them, when you sing for them. And yes, Elisa, students love singing, especially girls, right? Girls like singing a lot in classes.
The students like the music.
Yes, students like music.
The students like the music.
Yes, Alan. Yes.
Enjoy the music.
Yes, they enjoy the music. That's right. Yes, that's true. Here's an example of a word game. A team game could be Chinese whispers. This is what we call in Spanish the broken telephone. We call this in Spanish the broken telephone. The name in English is Chinese whisper. This is about passing a message to another person, and the person that is in the end of the line has to give the message to the teacher. This is Chinese whispers. Also, another example of a team game is a picture memory game. All right, now here come some tips for introducing games in the classroom. I would recommend you, I would suggest you, I would advise you to use games that are connected to the language that students will study, will practice, will see. All right, so there should be a language focus. What will the students practice? So there should be a connection with the topic you will be covering. Another tip is
according to the topic, teacher, no?
Yes, covering.
That's according to the topic?
Yes. The recommendation is to use games that cover the topic you are studying in your units, in your bimesters. Another tip is to play different games. Vary the order. I told you that games can be played at any moment of the class, not only at the beginning of the class, but they can also be played in the middle or in the end. Don't drag a game. It's like don't use a game all the time. The same game. Plan carefully. Make sure the conditions are safe so that you avoid accidents or you avoid misunderstanding of things when playing games. Yes, Roxana, the games, if possible, have to be related to the lesson's goal. Yes, if possible, but don't feel like, oh my God, what can I play today because my topic is this. So, and you are thinking and breaking your brain because you don't know what to play. So I recommend you to do this, but if possible only. So you can play something that is related to the topic. Sometimes it's not possible because the topics we cover are so different. And yes, as Roselena says, it's hard, right? Anyway, you have to make sure the conditions are okay if you are planning to play a game. Right? And in face-to-face classes, you have to have your material ready. You cannot set food in the classroom and then say, okay, students, today I prepare a beautiful game. Okay, we are going to start. And then you notice that you forgot the materials. And then you tell a student, please go to second grade and tell Miss Martina that inside my locker there is a white bag. Inside the white bag there is a pencil case. Inside the pencil case I have the USB, please, and bring it to me. Now you have to plan carefully. You have to be ready. And in online teaching, you have to plan carefully also when playing a game. And if you need to inform the parents or the students' parents about what you will do, you have to do it so that you make sure the conditions are okay and everything will be done. All right, what can you do to control large classes? Okay, in face-to-face teaching, yeah, you should be using whole class games like Simon says, or lineups. In online teaching, the other day a teacher was telling me that she is working in a school and she is in charge of all the sections of the grade. This means that she is teaching second A, B, C, D, and E. And she has a Zoom class, an online Zoom class, and she has to put 120 students inside one Zoom meeting. Can you believe this? How many students are you teaching online? What is the number of students, the amount of students you have in a class? Tell me, please. How many students do you have? 20, 15? Ceci, you have 25. All right. Who has more than 25? 35.
37.
37?
37. Yeah. 37.
37. All right. So I imagine how.
I have 12 sections.
12 sections. Okay, 15 to, okay, Rafael has one group of 25, another group of 20, 35, 44. All right. All right. Okay, so one thing you can do to control large classes, both in face-to-face teaching and in online teaching, is to let the students manage the games. To be to let the students be the leaders, to let the students lead the games. The other day, I shared a PDF document with you with classroom language for online teaching. Phrases, expressions, words that you have to teach to your students so that they communicate in English with you in the classes. So if you are teaching online, you can let the students manage the meeting so that they can present the screen so that they decide who is going to be with the microphone on or off when playing. This is one thing that you can do to control large classes. You can make groups. You can alternatively work with the computer and with a home. You can use Kahoot, for example. You can use parallelly your computer and a WhatsApp group to make groups and make students participate in your classes. So it is recommendable to divide the classes into groups and turn players into teams and set up different stations in the classroom or different moments in the classroom in the case of online teaching. One moment for playing, one moment for reading, one moment for listening, etc. Another thing you can do to control large groups, I told you this the other day when we were talking about monitoring, is to be asking questions to the students constantly so that you make sure they are following you. Right? And give simple instructions according to the student's level. Here is some language for starting a game. So if you want the students to play in class, you have to teach them these words. Here is some more language. All right, here's some language for sustaining again. My turn. Who's next? Look, your card. Take a card. They're your cards. Take them. Your turn. He's next. It's your card. Take 2 cards. It's your turn. She's next. Wait. Move 2 spaces forward or move 2 spaces backwards. Pass the ball, pass the cup to, pass the ball to Lupe, pass the cup to Pepe. Put them back. It's your turn again. Another turn again, try again, you're out. Show him, show her. And language for ending a game. All right, here's a list of websites I promised to share with you tonight. I said I'm going to share this with you later on, all right? So you can take a screenshot right now if you want, but I will share this presentation with you later on, all right? Don't worry, I promise you all will have this presentation with you on Monday at its latest. All right. You said that you are teaching 20 to 30 students, 35 to 40 students. All right. Do you work with routines in your classes? Do you have routines in your classes? This is things that you repeat every day at one specific moment of your lesson. For example, in some schools or some teachers start with a prayer, and they always start with a prayer, with praying the Our Father. This is a routine. This is something that they always do. Do you have routines, Roxana? Yes? All right. Who else? I want you to type, please, yes or no. Do you have routines in your classes? Madelady, yes. Roseville, sometimes. Yes, yes, all right. Okay. What happens when you repeat routines? What happens? Who can tell?
Boring some students and don't understand because interchange for other the new words, new vocabulary according to the topic.
Okay. And what happens when you repeat routines? Roseville, you said that you use routines sometimes. This is, if you say sometimes, they are not routines. Because our routine is something that we do.
Usually.
We do every day. This is routine. Okay?
Yeah.
So
every day you speak.
Okay.
Interaction with the students.
What happens when you repeat routines?
Oh yeah, well, about to, for example, about to, for example, the player say an hour the father in a game to repeat again, interchange, and it's very tired for the some students because want to learn another new vocabulary, new topic, or new classes.
All right. All right.
Mister, I have a question.
Yes, Rosa Berta.
Yeah, but when you talk about Routine, it means about the lessons or about what? Because I understand or I understood about this. Because if I focus on routines about if I follow a sequence of lessons.
All
I don't know if I
Okay.
confuse the term, or please explain me. Thank you.
Okay, okay, thank you. Thanks for asking. When I mean routine, I mean, for example, you start every day by greeting the students, and after this, you pray the Our Father. And you do this every day, all year.
No, because
Or-
sometimes if
Or
No,
another example would be, you always finish your lesson by asking the students, okay, write one thing that you learned today. And you always do this.
no. I confuse that because if as a teacher do that, sometimes students follow as a robot and they know what happened next.
All right. Okay. How long do you think it takes to students to assimilate the language of a routine?
I consider it's at the beginning of the class when we start our lessons. We have some rules and they know as a classroom rules or common expressions and they know. But we can use different, not exactly at the same time, follow the same every day. We can change the terms.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Rosa Berta. Roxana is saying that routines sometimes can get tedious or repetitive. And it is true. It is true. If you repeat one routine from March to December, students will get bored. But if you change your routines every 15 days, you will see good results. Some teachers start by asking, what's the day today? This is a routine. For example, what's the day today? The first day, nobody says anything. The students look at you and they say, what? I don't understand anything. And then you start to elicit. You say, today is Monday, today is Tuesday, okay? What day is it today? Today is Friday? Saturday? Yes, miss. Okay, Saturday the 10th, the 11th, 11, all right. If you repeat this routine for 1 week or 2 weeks, students will follow you. You will see a result. But if you ask today, what's the day today? And then you forget, you don't ask them again, what's the day today? Until 1 or 2 months later, nobody will learn anything. But if you repeat this for 5 consecutive days, for 10 consecutive days, students will learn grammar, vocabulary. They will do speaking, they will do listening, reading, and writing. So routines are a fantastic way to make students learn things. And of course, if you have the same routine from March to December, it's going to be tedious, repetitive, they will be like robots, and it'll be boring. But you have to change your routines from time to time. It is good to have routines in your classes. Also, playing games can be a routine because students know that every Tuesday and Friday, they start the class with a game. And this is positive for your classes. Carlos Chavez is saying that, for example, a routine is to say the objective of the class. Yes. If you start each class by saying, okay, the objective of today's class or this week, the objective is to understand, to compare, to describe, students are going to learn a lot by using routines. And of course, in 1 week, the work they will learn will be described because the objective is described, and the following week, the work they will learn will be compared because the objective is to compare or analyze, and they will be learning new words, and they will feel more secure. Also, when you use routines, students feel secure in classes. And once again, if you say that you do this sometimes, so they are not routines. A routine is something you do every day. What happens when you repeat a routine? When you repeat a routine, routines become habits. And as I said at the beginning of today's webinar, this is one of the aspects we have to pay attention to, since students are very little. Habits and skills. So this is part of our job. Our job, once again, is not to teach grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation only, or listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But our job goes beyond that. It is about forming habits, making students good citizens, developing not only language skills, but social skills. This is what I would recommend you to do then in all your lessons, in both face-to-face and in online teaching. You can start by greeting. If you repeat the same for 5 consecutive days, good morning, how are you today? How was your day yesterday? The students will learn this, yes, like robots at the beginning maybe. But then they will find it significant. And the 6th day, the 7th day, you can delegate a student to do what you were doing. And they will do the routine. And everybody will be involved with the routine. And as you are saying in the chat, we have to change routines from time to time. Once we are sure the routine has become a habit and students have already understood what we wanted them to understand, we can change routine. Okay? All right. Okay, and here's the last part of our webinar tonight. The ELT terminology I promised to share with you. So here are some of the words we have seen tonight. Acquire, acquisition, to acquire a new language, the way we learn a new language. And what we have seen today applies for all languages. I know that here are some English teachers, but also teachers that can speak and are teaching French, right? Can you please say yes? Who is a French teacher here? We, Roxana, yes, right? So what we have seen tonight applies for all languages. So if you expose students to the language, since they are babies, since they are little, in a natural way, they will acquire the language naturally. What we have seen tonight then applies for all languages, including our own language. Don't teach grammar to children. This is applied to all languages. Spanish, English, German, French, Japanese, Chinese. Teaching grammar to children is a waste of time. Yes, this applies to all languages. Another word we have learned tonight is attention span. This is how long a student is able to concentrate at any one time. Another word is cognitive processes, the mental processes involved in thinking, understanding, or learning. And focus on form. Focus on form is focus on grammar. As we said, teenagers can understand grammar, they can understand abstract concepts. On the other hand, children don't care about grammar. They care about meaning. They want to know the message. That's it. They don't want to know how the language works. Children want to play. Children want to move. Children want to sing. They want to hear stories. They want to see language in context. They don't focus on form. They don't focus on grammar. They don't really care about grammar. They don't need to know about grammar. So to focus on form is to pay attention to language by identifying the language and by practicing the language. All right, Roxana is saying that she has taught from preschool to adults, so the earlier, the easier. Yes, I fully agree with you. The earlier, the easier. The earlier, the better, right? If you could go back on time, wouldn't you like to be like younger to learn a language and to learn more than one language? Would you like to learn more than one language? Not only English, but wouldn't you like to learn Japanese or German or French or Italian? Yes, right? Who wouldn't? Yeah, Elisa, me too. I would like to learn French, for example, or Italian. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely study more than one language, because the earlier, the easier. The earlier, the better. All right. Okay, Alan, you'd like to learn French too? All right, yes. Oui, Medali is saying oui. Oui. Je m'appelle Juan. Is that right? Is that correct? Je m'appelle, yes? In French?
I can help you, teacher, with that. Don't worry.
Thank you, Roxana. All right. All right. L1, L2. L1 is the learner's mother tongue. In our case, our L1 is Spanish. Ça va bien. Merci. Oh, yes, good. I am learning fast. L1 is the learner's mother tongue or first language. And L2 is the language that the learner is learning, that the student is learning. L2 is the learner's second or other language. Who can speak more than 2 languages here? Who can speak 3 or more languages here? Tudo bem. Tudo bem. What's that? All right, Miguel. Miguel, you speak English, Spanish, French. Madeleine, you speak Portuguese, English, Spanish. Great, fantastic. All right. Another term we have seen tonight is learner characteristics. This has to do with the typical things about a learner or learners have that influence their learning. For example, their age, their mother tongue, their past learning experience, their learning style. Veronica, you speak English, Spanish, and French. Alan, you studied Italian for about a year. Hebrew. Wow, Julio. Wow. That's fantastic. Arigato gozaimasu. Yes, Elsie, you speak Japanese, right? Good. All right. Totes nos felicitan. I don't get it. Roseville, what language is that, Roseville? French? Portuguese? Namaskar, what's that? Yes, we are foreign language teachers. You are right, Roxana. So we have to be good at the language. And next week, the focus will be on the language itself. We as language teachers have to be good at the language we teach, but also at our L1. I always tell teachers that we, the Peruvian English teachers, have to be good at English, but we have to also be good at Spanish. Have to be very good at our own language. All right, another word we saw tonight is maturity or mature. This means fully grown or developed. If a learner is mature in attitude, so the learner behaves in an adult way. A learner's maturity, physical, emotional, and mental, influences a teacher's approaches, yes, and decisions. All right. Another word is to contextualize. This is to put new language into a situation that shows what it means. For example, you teach the word loud, then you put the word in a situation, in a context. The music in the disco was very loud. A teaching strategy is the procedure or approach used by a teacher in the classroom. For example, a teacher may choose to give thinking time to students before they speak, or the teacher might teach the students to make their own vocabulary books so that they take notes and write new words and write new vocabulary. This is a teaching strategy. A part of our job is to do this also. Once again, it's not about teaching grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation only. We have to teach strategies too. We have to teach students to be smart, to be fast, and at the same time, to be respectful and assertive and competent. Another word, another term we saw tonight is total physical response, a way of teaching in which the teacher presents language items as instructions and the students have to do exactly what the teacher tells them. For example, open the window, stand up. An example of this is the game Simon Says. And this method is very meaningful and good for beginners when they start to learn a new language, as they have a silent period and can make fast progress. A silent period is a period of time in which the learner of a language is processing information in silence, consciously and unconsciously in their brains. This is called a silent period. The first months of our life, when we learn our native language, we all have this silent period because we don't say a word, we don't speak the first word until we are 16, 18, 20 months. And what happened all this time from the first day, from the day you were born until the 12th or 13th or 14th month, what was happening in your brain? You were like in silence, but you were processing the language. So all this time in which you were just listening and processing the language is called the silent period. All right, that would be all then for tonight. Thank you very much for joining again tonight. I'm always so happy to share all these experiences with you, all right? And we all have a chance to contribute, to intervene, to participate here. I don't know if you have any questions. related to what we have done, what we have seen tonight? Are there any questions? All right. You're welcome, Delcy. All right. No questions tonight? No comments? All right, Julio, thank you. All right, you're welcome, Doris. All right, good. So are you ready for tonight's photo?
Yeah.
All right, I want you to turn on your cameras then, please. Turn on your cameras.
Yeah.
Press correctly for open the correct agenda.
All right, Roseville, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, you're welcome, Julio. Thank you for joining. All right.
Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. All right, let's take the photo then. Okay?
Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome.
Thank you, teacher.
All right. I want
Thank you so much, dear trainer.
Oh, you're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
Thank you so much, teacher.
Have a nice weekend, Mr. and everybody now. Goodbye.
You too. Okay. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Professor,
Goodbye.
thank you very much for the opportunity. To me, that was very, very interesting.
You're welcome, Julio.
Very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Opportunity. Thank you to you
Bye.
all.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Roxana.
Bye, teacher.
Bye.
Rosa.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Ceci.
Bye-bye, teacher. Bye-bye, Roxana.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Goodbye, Sharon.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Mónica.
Bye. Bye.
Estoy grabando.
Bye, bye, bye. Verónica, bye.